Hello, welcome to the market wrap right here on BloombergQuint live with me, Niraj, Shah, and Nickey Mirchandani. And it's not been a very happy hunting ground today, really, for the markets because banks led the corrective move downwards. And this was largely, I reckon, in lieu of what the world markets were doing as well. So if you just look at what the indices did, about 1%, nothing too much. But the scare was pretty strong. Out of the blue, we suddenly cracked and cracked quite heavily. And as you can see on your screen, the rate sensitives really took it on the chin. This morning, I was talking about whether banks will see a major move or no. I thought a major move will not come in. Now, again, I don't know if it's due to the inflation print or otherwise, or just, as I said, the global scare, but banks certainly came off. Some of the others like Eicher Motors, Tata Motors, etc., also came off. So autos and banks were clearly at the forefront of this pullback. 9 out of the 10 or 8 out of the 10 names are rate sensitive. What did well? JSW Steel 2.5% higher, Coal India. So metals held out. Tata Steel did reasonably okay for itself as well. So commodities kind of betting the brunt better. The broader end of the spectrum, let's see what happened. And I think the market breadth would have turned adverse today compared to the last few days, wherein the market breadth has stayed okay. And it's getting darker. But let me just quickly try and tell you what happened in the broader end of the spectrum, and then toss it over to Nickey for what's happening across specific pockets. Look at that. I think the market breadth was for the first time in 10 sessions in favor of the declines. And Bharat Rasayana results name, Mahindra Holidays, Dish TV, Vaibhav Global, a clutch of names. Balkrishna Industry, despite positive commentary, didn't do all that well. What did well, to an extent, were names like Reddington, which is up about 16%. There was some strength in Bajaj Electricals, up about 7%, and Phoenix Mills at 632, with the malls opening up, is looking okay. Similarly for Nesco, I think that's probably the play. And Tata Communications gained a bit. But Nickey, lots happening at the broader end of the spectrum or all the overall markets. What stood out?
Well, I'm going to start off with Reddington. Obviously, 15-16% kind of uptake results were clearly better than what the street was estimating, both on top line as well and bottom line front. Even there was an working capital improvement in working capital. Along with that, there was a cost control measure which led to a sharp uptick coming in on Reddington. NTPC again reported good set of numbers. We saw EBITDA uptick of nearly 20%, and that was on account of higher, lower fuel costs rather, which aided the rally. Also, the PLF to an extent were stable. Also, I'd like to talk about Lupin because there is a dead cat bounce kind of a scenario for Lupin. If you could just pull up the ANR for Lupin out here, you'd see at most of the time the target price has been has been lower than what the stock price has been, which means that the stock has been defying analyst estimates repetitively. At this point of time, 3 days back, Lupin was actually the only counter which kind of reported. Look at the screen out here on the ANR. Return potential at this point of time is 14. Look at the yellow line and the white line. Clearly, the yellow line at this point of time indicates the price, which is higher than what the analyst community as a whole is suggesting. 3 days back, Lupin suggested Lupin came out with the numbers and the margins were lower, and probably the results was way less than what the large cap peers were reporting. On the back of that, you saw some amount of correction also coming in. 3 days we saw some decline, but today again it was 8 and a 9.5% kind of uptick. Clearly recovery happening in for Lupin. And last that I have on my list is Eicher Motors, where immense sell-off was seen today, and it was essentially on account of the poor show, and obviously a few downgrades also came in because most of the brokerages at this point of time are not so comfortable with the kind of valuation that Eicher Motors is trading at, almost 34 times FY22 EPS. I mean, it's higher than what a Hero or a Bajaj could command, which is at 16 or 17 times. Clearly double the kind of valuation that the peers Hero and Bajaj are commanding at this point of time, on account of which you're seeing some amount of a sell-off in this counter, Niraj.
Thanks, Nickey. Yeah, there were issues with regards to some of these two-wheeler names as well. So that was the key point. But I think the other bit was, as I said, the commodity stocks stayed put. So you actually had some pretty good moves in a Tata Steel, though it came off from the highs of the day, but pretty good moves out. And then we had Hindalco coming out with numbers. Actually, Nickey, how did these two fare? What are the con call highlights of Tata Steel?
Yeah, I mean, Tata Steel, we all anticipated there would be a knee-jerk reaction and then a recovery, obviously, because the commentary is good, but then the numbers are bad. But clearly, that was factored into the stock. 18 quarter low adjusted EBITDA, both for Tata Steel as well as Hindalco. The street does not take, I mean, has already factored that probably in the stock price. In fact, you'd see Tata Steel moving up. I attended the con call, and there they gave a very positive commentary suggesting that they expect the domestic realization to be higher by 3,000 per ton in this quarter, which is quarter two, as compared to Q1. They said the demand scenario is, at this point of time improving. Auto sector demand is shown up, and also they're seeing some amount of further price take coming in this entire quarter. So net a very positive commentary coming in both from the European front. Even the net debt, they suggested they're not expecting more debt coming in on their books. European division losses could be contained to an extent. Clearly, reciprocated to that positive commentary, and you saw the stock, rising as much as 3.5% to 4% odd in trade, but then it did cool off.
I think we are losing Nickey's speed a bit. So I'm just going to come in out here
also the same story.
Nickey, just hang on. I think Nickey can't hear me. Nickey, if you can hear me, just hang on, because your feed is completely lost. So I think there's some internet connectivity issue. Let me just quickly try and tell you the two things that you should monitor, though. I think in a nutshell, Tata Steel's con call comments were pretty strong, and that's probably led to some bit of an uptick for the stock as well. Now, let's just put all of this into perspective. Result season has almost come to an end. Maybe we might have a few other results which are non-Nifty in nature coming out next week, but that would be not really the most important ones. I think by and large it's done, and all focus shifts to now what happens in the global markets. And I must tell you, viewers, keep what the European markets are doing today and what the US markets do overnight, as well as outcome of a potential meeting between the US and China over the weekend in focus, because I think that is something that might well determine what the Asian markets and the SGX and therefore the Nifty do come Monday morning. So I think that is something you have to keep an eye out for. But with that, it's a wrap on this leg of the market wrap from Nickey and myself and the team that put this piece together. Thanks so much for tuning in.